Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
March 21, 2020, the Levandowski pleads guilty edition. First up from the New York Times, PG&E, the California utility company, has reached agreement with Governor Gavin Newsom and made pledges to pay billions of dollars to help wildfire victims, to improve safety, and make other changes, resolving the biggest obstacle to the company's plan to come out of bankruptcy. As part of the deal, PG&E will not pay dividends to shareholders for 3 years. The agreement should allow the utility to exit bankruptcy pending federal judge approval. Next up, our lead story, and this has been a long-running story, and one of the things that I think if I had told you this, you would have said I made it up. But ex-Uber, ex-Google, ex-Auto executive Anthony Levandowski has pled guilty to trade secret theft. This is a saga of once one of Silicon Valley's top autonomous driving engineers. He worked at Google, and he quit Google in 2016 to start a self-driving car company called Otto. He, 6 months later, sold that company to Uber for some $600 million. The problem was when he left Google, he stole trade secrets, which allowed him to create Otto and then flip it, of course, to Uber. Uber paid $244 million to Google in a civil settlement around this allegations of trade secret theft. And during that litigation, Levandowski refused to answer questions, exercising his Fifth Amendment rights. The civil court judge in that case recommended to federal prosecutors they open an investigation. They did, and they filed criminal charges against Levandowski, which he pled guilty to. It's very unusual to have criminal charges for theft of trade secrets, but in this case, it turned out it was warranted, and now Levandowski is facing probably 18 months to 3 years in prison for his illegal acts. Next up, the Palm Oil Sustainability Certifier is to review allegations of bribery claims by one of its companies that it certifies. The Singaporean company, or rather Indonesian company, Golden Agri Resources, has been alleged to have paid bribes to cover up improper use of protected forests in Indonesia. The Roundtable for Palm Oil Sustainability, or rather the Roundtable for Sustainable Palm Oil, an organization comprised of producers, buyers, and environmental groups, certifies that the producers of palm oil have met various standards, but this complaint alleges land use violations and other corruption. So interesting in the supply chain area. And then finally, in an article from the Wall Street Journal directed at boards of directors, but I think equally appropriate to chief compliance officers and the heads of any other corporate functions, you need to consider your succession plans in the time of coronavirus. The tobacco giant Altria said that its chief financial officer, Billy Gifford, will assume authority and responsibility for the chairman and CEO who has contracted COVID-19 until the chairman and CEO returns from his leave of absence. The potential effect of the pandemic on executive health will certainly make corporate governance more challenging, and it's something that you need to be prepared for as a corporate governance specialist, board of director, chief executive officer, or even a CCO for members of your team who might come down. So please take heed. 2 podcasts join the Compliance Podcast Network this week: Compliance Live, which is a production from Compliance Line, and Jammin' with Jason, produced by Jason Mefford, about chief audit executives. Check out these new podcasts. We'll roll out some additional podcasts over the next week on the Compliance Podcast Network. Please be safe out there, self-isolate to the extent you can, and stay in the know with the daily compliance news.